week's episode is brought to you by Support the Mountains Herbal Parasite Cleanse. This formula targets the small and large intestinal tracts and larvae, the most broad-spectrum formula available today. 100% organic, formulated by Dr. Mikio Sankey, author of the Esoteric Acupuncture series. For 10% off your first bottle, visit shopyogahub.com and use the coupon code CLEANSE at checkout. Hello and welcome to YHTV's Trinity of Life. Hello, I'm Christina Suzama, your host for this program. It's a very, very special day today because look who I have with me. Dr. Glenn Woolman from Magical Medical Tour is joining me today because it is that much of an exciting day. We have a very special guest, and today we are speaking on Tibetan astrology. How blessed are we to enter a new realm of astrology today. What do you think, Dr. Woolman?
Well, first of all, I'm happy to be here in your realm. From all of us on Magical Medical Tour, I'd like to say hello to you and to Segovia and all of YogaHub. It's great to be here, and this is going to be a great show. I know that because it's not just astrology, it's also a little bit of medical astrology. It's about health and healing, so that's important to me and to all of our viewers.
Yes. Now, truly, it's even beyond combinatorial medicine, isn't it?
Never beyond combinatorial. Nice try.
Almost got that one.
Yeah, you did. I guess maybe because it is TOL, I should. Oh yes, it's definitely beyond combinatorial medicine. You are right, Christina.
So today, please join us with our very, very special guest to welcome Tsering Chosim of the Mensi Kang organization. It is an institution began in Tibet, I think in 1969.
1916.
1916.
In
1916 in Tibet.
And 1961 in India, Dharamsala.
Oh my goodness. So it's been
Re-established.
like 3 establishments?
No,
re-established in India.
Yeah, in 1961.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So Tsering, can you tell us a little bit about this organization and what it encompasses?
Yeah, in Tibetan Medical and Astrological Institute, it was re-established by His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama in Dharamsala, India, northern India. And, at the time, it was re-established in 1961. They were just, like, as we all know, that the situation from every aspect wasn't that sort of, very well developed, and, just begin with a very small stuff. And now, we have grown in such a way that we are already with 53 years of the institution, and then we have we have around 56 branches all over India and Nepal, taking care of the health of or the well-being of the people around.
Oh, what a blessing. What a blessing. So we have heard also previously that the people, the well-being of the people, are the people who don't have access to medical help. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, people, they normally, go with any kind of medication, but, it depends on, individual sort of taste or interest that, we have many people, like, coming to consult our doctors in different clinics all over India and Nepal.
Wonderful. And you are the head doctor of astrology at the institution.
In the institute, we have one medical part and one astrological part. So for the medicine, we have different branches, and now we have some astrologer as well working at different branch clinics. And myself resided in the head office of the Tibetan Medical and Astro Institute, where we have the astrological department, and I used to be the in charge of the astrological department there.
And so it's so interesting to me because I didn't realize that there was a Tibetan astrology until today. So that was the first time, because growing up here, I have heard of astrology. I've had astrological readings for, I would assume, in the Western Hemisphere, I do believe that's the not the lunar calendar system, but is that the solar calendar system that the...
Yeah, in the West, they use the solar calendar, while in our case, we use the solar lunar calendar, you can call it.
Solar lunar, because I know the Chinese use the lunar calendar. I don't believe that they mix the two. But in Tibetan, they have solar and lunar together.
Yeah, we use this together because according to the Western calendar, I mean, the solar system, they have 365 days in a year, while, like we have, I can call that, 371, or, like when we work this together, then we have, I should say that after 65 months, we are going to have one intercalary month.
That's an extra month.
An extra month.
How would you like an extra month in your year?
Well, first it depends on the year. If it's a good year, I love it. And the ones that are not as good, maybe not.
Maybe not. So when I really would love to know how you began this. Is this something that you always wanted to do in childhood? Was astrology?
Actually, during my childhood, I have been grown up in Tibetan settlement Tibetan settlement Mungod in South India. So I did my schooling there, and soon after, I finished my schooling. There's been an opportunity. Actually, at that time, I do not know anything about astrology. If I tell you the truth, I think that this is the opportunity that really came up, and maybe there's a lot to do with my karma, because you know that now I have my husband as an astrologer, my son as well as an astrologer, and so this is really, I consider my karma to be get into this field, and having studied and worked, now I have worked for like more than 25 years in this field.
My goodness. So when you study, you were telling me before that it's a 6-year study.
Yes. Yeah, we have 5 years of theory and 1 year of internship, so it is considered 6 years of studies.
My goodness. And so after you finish, then you are then allowed to see people and help them and work with the medical doctors as well?
No, the thing is that while we were studying, together with the study of Tibetan astrology, we call as astroscience. So we are also taught some medicinal part, in our daily lessons, that we get from our college there. So, we have quite a good knowledge from there while we were studying. And then when we graduate, then normally for doctors they need to go go to other branch clinics. Maybe not all, but those who are interested more in clinical things, they are going to go to different branches. But at the time I was graduated, there's the chance that I can stay there in the institute, work there by myself. I mean, in a particular department meant for the practice of Tibetan astroscience.
So we were told in a previous interview with one of your colleagues that the integration of the astrology is very important with the integration of medicine.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that, like how it integrates together?
Yeah, the thing is that when we talk about Tibetan, like we say Mensikang or Tibetan Medical and Astro Institute, people really get very much surprised how these two sciences go together. Yeah, this has a purpose. I mean, like based on our culture and also based on the system we use medically and astrologically. So, from medical point, whenever they have to do diagnosis, then it is very important to know that, about the changes of the seasons and precise change of the season, where medical doctors consider Tibetan astrology, especially when we have this almanac done. There, every seasonal changes is, like the information all will be available in that almanac, and following that they know about the seasonal changes, and every seasonal changes has to do with the diagnosis. When we talk about the seasonal changes, like during the spring season, we say the liver pulse is predominating, and summer season, like more the heart pulse, and then with I should say lung with the autumn season, and with the kidneys with the winter seasons, and with the four cardinals, stomach and spleen pulse is predominant. Likewise, this is in terms of the pulse diagnosis. And when somebody, has to go for any medication, general medication, they go directly to the doctors. But, as we have talked earlier, that when the medication doesn't respond, then they come to the astrologer to find out what is the reason behind for such a delay in, getting really treated. Then in that sense, then astrologer used to take information from the patient, that since how long they have been, undergoing treatment, not a treatment that only relates to Tibetan traditional medicine, but other field of treatment as well. So they come to the astrologer to find out, what really is the reason behind. Then we try to find out, maybe in some extent, if they need to really go for certain prayers or remedies, which is really necessary in order to get the medication really, worked for them. So this is another thing. And then to get really benefited by the medicine itself. So compounding of medicine is very important, that that compounding of medicine should be done at the right time and right, that's why we also look for the stars and their combination and elemental relation and so on, that we get really the right time to do all this compounding of medicine to benefit them.
So, Dr. Woolman,
You think I might have a question?
Oh, yeah. If you don't, I definitely do. But what's interesting is, for yourself, being schooled here in the sciences and allopathic medicine, now we're hearing from an astrologer how her astrology combines with medicine. What are your thoughts?
I think that using the word astrology sometimes, especially in the West, makes us think a whole way of thinking. We can look in the paper every day and see our astrology, and so we all have this view of what astrology might be, and clearly that it's on deeper levels. For example, a question that I might have, and of course I avoided your question for me, but I will answer it in a moment. I like it. I think it's important because, as we speak about many times, it's not just the parts of the body. There's other ways and layers of thinking about how to heal people. There's emotional components. There's, in this case, karmic components and spiritual components. And I think that in Western medicine, we don't look at that as carefully, although a lot more doctors are doing that. But I think to bring something like this into it helps to bring not just the doctor, but also the patient or the client into a sense of you have some responsibility in your own healthcare. And this points it out, and it brings the person into sharing, rather than in Western medicine. So often the doctor takes care of the patient, gives them the pills, does the operation, and they just heal or hope that everything works. Whereas in this particular case, it seems more like you have to be part of your own healthcare. I like that. If I might, I would like to ask a question.
Of course.
Is that all right? When you spoke before about the different seasons having an organ, in Western medicine, again, when I hear of the word kidney, I think of the kidney. But in traditional Asian medicine, for example, when they speak of the kidney, it's a whole system. It's not just about the organ, the kidney. So when you're speaking about in this season, it's the lung predominating, are you speaking specifically of the organ, or are you speaking of this representation of all the things that the lung may bring into someone's healing?
I think here in this case, just from my thought, it's more related to that, the element representing the kidney. And, when we talk about kidney with water element,
Right.
that means that, it's very cooling and, really need to be taken care with, warm things. So during winter season, it's going to be very cold, obviously. So because of that, it has a lot of influence on kidney.
So what happens in the summer with the kidneys?
No, with the summer it's okay. Just this is, something that tells about that, just influence on pulse diagnosis.
So every season represents one of the major organs.
And the organs represent many things.
Yeah,
rather than it just being.
Yeah, then they come to say that, if they are not aware of this kid, say just for winter, winter season, if they are having the pulse diagnosis, if they are not aware that, that during winter season kidney pulse is more predominated, they could make confuse and make mistaken with other pulses. So that's why just to know that seasonal influence, it has been important.
So in your department, are you trained to take the pulses as well?
No, we don't do any kind of pulse diagnosis. Pulse diagnosis are done just by the doctors. We are just visited by the patients to know what is really wrong in there. So we do more the reading and guiding work. Even in case of when somebody comes to the astrologer to find out that, whether I should go for a surgery or not, I have a pain here, there, and that kind of question, then we try to find out, maybe it is not a good idea to go for surgery at this moment. Maybe, you can see later on with the changes. At this moment you are more, required to do this and that stuff, like changes in diet and also, certain remedies related with, reading of scripts, prayers, and all this are, considered more, necessary for that particular moment.
So that's very interesting. So, for example, if I was diagnosed with something very serious, and my doctor says to me that I need surgery within 72 hours, or I might die, and then I come to see you to have a reading to see if that's true, if I should have the surgery today or tomorrow, or I can wait beyond the 72 hours. You would be able to look at my chart and be able to give me the best suggestion?
Yeah, in this event, in terms of very urgency, we might not really, insist that, you should avoid surgery or that kind of stuff. But, we rather advise that, like we try to figure out whether, really the surgery is required or not. That, we try to figure out. And just in case, if some support of, prayers or remedies is required in order to get that surgery done in a very easy and like successful way, that we can do. But in terms of urgency, we just don't say that you should avoid that, because this has to do with the life of one individual. So we don't take such things.
Usually you like to know the hour a person is born, or
Yeah,
the
sure.
time a person is born, and where they were born. And that helps. If somebody does not know that information about themselves, say someone was an orphan, abandoned some day and finds himself somewhere, and then they come to you 20 years later but don't know, and you're going to make an astrological decision for their health. How do you go about that then?
I still can do the reading.
You?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the thing is that, the moment they thought of, really consulting the astrologer is very important. That very moment that they have decided to come to the astrologer.
Uh-huh.
So based on that moment, we are going to have complete reading of that person, telling each and everything about that person.
When I was born,
Yeah.
I don't share things on the medical tour, but I'm free to say whatever I want.
You are free here.
I'm free. For my entire life, my mother told me that I was born at 8 o'clock in the evening in New York, and I knew I was born in New York. But after she passed away, I got a copy of my birth certificate. And before I say that what I found out, I had had a number of astrological readings based on what I told her. So when I saw my original birth certificate, I was not born at the time that she told me I was.
Yeah.
So does that matter that much?
Yeah, actually, when people insist to do the reading based on, individual year, month, day, and time of birth, surely we need the time. But from my experience, that I come across many people, asking, for a reading without having, like their time of birth. So I have to think over, and now, I have figured out that, even the time that person really thought of coming to the astrologer for the reading, that desire and excitement, that really has to do with the reading, and really comes out well.
Interesting. That's really interesting. So it almost sounds like when the person is aligned to and open
Sure.
to the information, that you will be able to process the information.
Right.
See.
I like that.
It's I really like that because I think I have encountered the same kind of astrology readings, which they have to have your birthday, they have to have your time, and I'm going, but I was born in Hong Kong. Do you take that into consideration? I was born in a different time zone. Is that taken into consideration? I had so many questions about that, and so often it's like, well, because of this planet is here and here and here, this is who and what you are. And I'd look and go, really? It's very interesting. It's almost like a very linear outlook of what the reading was. Very linear, like if this is point A and point B, this equals C.
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing from you is that in the Tibetan astrology, there is really nothing so linear, like so set in place.
Yeah, normally, what is said in our astrological text is that there are a number of things to be considered, but there are a lot of things, a lot of steps out there. But what is important is that you really need to use your wisdom, and you really need to figure out what is going to go with the situation. We just can't take everything out. Like there are a number of things and number of texts say different things, in general. So we can just pick what is really use our wisdom or intelligence to do. So in this regard, that is really very relevant.
That's the part I like about this. It seems like it goes away from the newspaper
Yes.
version of astrology to someone who is using wisdom and intelligence, as you say.
Yeah, and also, like when we talk about Tibetan astrology, not just Tibetan astrology, astrology in general. People say that, oh, this is superstitious stuff, and they don't believe in all this, and some who believe a little bit in this, they start saying that, oh, I don't want to be in more worry or trouble, getting information that, oh, I'm not going to live long, or I will have some trouble there, here, there, So I've been telling them that this is really untrue. We are not telling any kind of or giving any kind of information from astrological perspective that, oh, you are going to suffer and you have to face that. We never said that. What we like really do is that to benefit others and to help others to get rid of difficulty or problems. This is not our sort of aim or objective to trouble people, or let people in doubt, or let people suffer in this suffering world.
So if someone were to come to you, does it matter how old, the age? Could it be a child? Could it be an elder? Does it matter?
Yeah, age doesn't matter, but in most of the Tibetan cases, they have parents coming for their child. Even like just a day old, or something like that. Just to get the reading in order to find out how your child is going to be. But in the West, we have more like more elderly people. But it has been much easier for us. Like since they don't know much about Tibetan astrology and astrology in general, it has been easier because when we give information to them that, oh, that had happened in your life during that period, then they realize that, oh, whatever information I'm going to give to them in future, that is going to happen, because they have just noticed from their past experiences that everything had happened in the way that I have told. So it's a lot easier for them to trust on for their future.
So if someone comes and has a chart done, like a life chart done, let's just say today I have my life chart done, and then in 10 years I see you again, or 5 years I see you again, does that chart change?
It doesn't change, and the calculation doesn't change, but what has been said in the chart that we met now. So in the chart, I have told you that during certain time you are going to have a difficult time. Yeah, I'm also giving you remedies to get rid of that. So during that particular time, before you enter that particular period, difficult period, you are going to do all the remedies, prayers, or whatever given. So you are going to follow that, and you are going to do all that before you really get into that difficult period. If you have done that really in the way that has been suggested, then when we meet during that particular difficult period, you will come to tell me that, oh, I did all the remedies, and with this difficult period, I don't suffer at all, because you have already done what you have to do it. So it's going to be really, very helpful to do all the remedies beforehand. Not
just interesting, because anytime I've encountered an astrology chart, it was given to me, but it was never, and it was told this is a difficult period, but I was never told how to fix it. Yeah. How about you, your experience?
I've never had somebody interpreted in those ways. They gave me the information, and because I never really asked for anything. I was just curious about all of it. I wasn't asking for a question. I didn't have to make a decision about something, and so I never got interpretations or guidance in those respects, except little things like be careful right now about don't do something financial or don't make a big decision or something like that. But I just had my chart. I wonder, in your studies, I looked at the Men Sikong Institute, and it's astronomy and astrology. Is that correct?
Yeah, we call it astroscience, so astrology and astronomy.
So in astronomy, I'm curious about this. In our science, at some point a few years ago, the astronomers said that a planet that existed that we've all learned about, Pluto, for example, was a planet that we all memorized and learned. And then we find out from the astronomers that it's not necessarily a planet anymore. Does that change anything in astrology?
You know, what is different in our in a system or tradition is that in our text, so they might have not said anything about Pluto because in our major uses of the planet, we use up to Saturn.
I don't understand that.
So
Up to Saturn.
Yeah,
Oh,
up to
okay.
Saturn. So other three planets,
So the
like
next three, Uranus,
Neptune,
and
and Pluto, we say that it is little too far away from us to give
to influence.
Oh, that's
This is
interesting.
this is just our consideration.
Oh, good. I feel better now.
Yeah, they just ruined all the other Western charts.
I have another question. This is a little more social. You mentioned a little while ago that you're an astrologer, your husband is an astrologer, and your son is an astrologer. Do you ever have, who wins in the argument using which stars and planets when you try to prove something? Hey, Mom, I want to go do this. Oh, no, you can't. Because the stars don't, oh, no, my stars say it. Do you ever have these kind of discussions among each other in your family?
No, we go equally well together. So we have no any major contradiction or anything like that. Quite well with such discussions. So, and especially my son, being a younger generation people, so it's very intelligent and it's very well in that. So no any major.
Well, your son now is a lecturer at the university, you were saying.
Lecturer at the Tibetan Medical and Astro College.
Oh, National Medical College.
Tibetan Medical and Astro College. We have the institute, Tibetan Medical and Astro Institute, and Tibetan Medical and Astro College. So where we studied.
So he lectures now.
He lectures now for the astrology students.
It's amazing. So, if I had also heard that for reading, people can have readings for themselves. People can also have readings like in the Chinese astrology, that if we go, we can say, ask questions like, when is a good time to get married? What is a good year to have a child? And questions like that, away from just our path. Is it the same with the Tibetan astrology?
So one can come up with any question. Any, in terms of decision making, one can come there whether this decision is going to be the right one or which one should be directing in one's life toward which field, and even movement of houses, moving houses from one to another and making choices among different locations, and of course we deal with favorable days for doing marital ceremony and other ceremonies, so can come for anything.
So I'm curious. It's in the means of the I know with the Ayurvedic world, they have their astrology as well.
Vedic astrology.
Yes. Is there similarity in the two?
Yeah, there are some similarities. in terms of using the planet, they also, I think, in the traditional way, they use 9 planets as we are using it.
Oh, also 9 planets.
Yeah.
And also the solar and lunar system?
I don't know about that. They might not be using, maybe a little bit different, but in terms of using the planet and in terms of, I should say, the constellations and all, we have same.
Now, they also have an area, and I don't know if it falls under astrology, I don't know if you know, but it's like the Chinese feng shui, the geomancy. Does your form also, which is like in your home, which direction it should face? Should it face north, south, east, or west? Should you put your table in a certain area of the room? Does your science also encompass that area?
Yeah, that also, exists there in our system as well.
Part of the astrology department.
Yeah. Yeah, we try to figure out, we suppose that there is an, we call as Lumo, a Naga. So we are going to fix that according to the position of the planet and, degrees and different zodiac. And then, there's a particular part, just especially in terms of, like when we go for a construction, major construction of a, I should say that, a huge sort of temple, or we can have anything, like, so for that we need to construct, and for the construction it is very important to know the first spot where we are going to dig it. For the digging, then, with the help of, having adjusted that, depending on the position of the planet, then here near the armpit we have a special place where we can start digging at, and we can also make experiment that, how that palace or that, particular, the building that we are going to construct is going to be, there we can judge. Sometimes different stuff comes out. So with the quality or the thing, there we can, we can also, like, this is the spot where we can beg for the land to dig out.
That's interesting.
You've been practicing astrology for how long?
Just 25 years.
Just 25 years.
Just.
So I wonder if in your 25 years, looking back, you would share with us maybe 1 or 2 experiences that you felt were really unique, working with someone that made a difference in a very special way.
The thing is that, I have been working with, preparing almanacs, calendars, and so on. And besides that, I worked a lot with the people, because since I have been giving lectures for Tibetans, for, different courses that, that were held in our institute itself. And also I have been visiting number of countries, I can say that, since 95. So I have visited many countries in Europe and Japan and Australia, and I'm visiting now the second time to US. So I've been doing most of the time, lecturing and doing exhibition on Tibetan medicine, astrology, and especially doing the consultation. And when we were doing consultation in Tibetan astro science, before, people just used to do the reading in a written form.
You know what?
In written form.
Oh, written.
In written form. And when I first went to my tour, and to, I should say, I have begun my tour in 1995 with tour to US. And since I have to deal with number of people, I just can't keep writing all the time. So I also have to be, like with the time. Yeah. So I have started doing this oral consultation. So I meet people and do my calculation, and then meet people, telling all the information, verbally, not written. So that has been a kind of like thing that I have faced. It has been quite challenging as well. This has not been the system in our tradition before.
It's almost like in medicine, where we now have very little time to see the patient that we used to. So you're having to compress things in a way. Is that what you're saying? And you're not writing as much? You're speaking more with them rather than doing the written?
If I will be writing all this, I will have just time for one person to deal with. When I'm traveling, I have to go with number of people, and I really, my purpose is to get really, all these people satisfied and benefited. So I just can't just, taking, like such long time with, just one people. So I have to figure out that which is the right and the fastest way to really, get things done. So from that moment, now I have been working with the people for many years, and I think that what I have been doing, I think that many people quite satisfied and get benefited. So I really enjoy doing the consultation.
Do you have to be in the same room as someone when you are doing the consultation?
I mean, the person who is consulting.
Yes.
And not necessarily, even people don't, really exist here. I mean, being in some other place is also okay. Not necessarily that, they have to be face to face.
And if I came in, let's just say, to say, oh, will you do a reading for me? Not for myself, but for Glenn.
Yeah, you can do that, sure. We
have a little issue with confidentiality here in the U.S.
I wonder if HIPAA falls under astrology.
But I can see, I understand now, because sometimes it's the marriage, right? The relationship.
Yeah.
If people are compatible. Oh, good.
Have you ever done a astrology on someone in the uterus? Before they're born?
Normally we don't do that. Because, if we try to do that, then, that person yet has to be born. And just in case, if somebody is really interested, then, we can base that particular moment of time that, one consult for the reading. But normally we don't do that. We only do that, according to us, we always say is that, the time for that when the cord is cut, that particular moment is very important. We always note down the time when the cord is cut.
Right? When the cord is cut.
Yeah.
So it's not when you're born. It's actually when the cord is cut.
The best thing is when the cord is cut, because, the child is going to be independent from, his or her mother.
So this is very interesting. Now I have a question towards that. My son was born, but we never cut the cord. He was born, and I placed it's called the Lotus Birth, where the placenta is placed in the bowl, and the umbilical cord is allowed to collapse on its own, so it dries, and then it almost detaches itself, but it's almost 24 to 36 hours later. So because we never cut it, is it the time that it collapses and dries, or the time that it actually comes off?
No, the main connection with the mother is cut or is still there. That is important.
It's so because in the teachings that I had come from, the placenta is considered the mother. Yes, and so when you cut the cord, that's the severing from the mother, not me as the physical mother, but the placenta. But we never cut it. It was when it collapsed on his own, and it is said that the child's choice of when to separate, that's when it will dry and fall.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. So would I calculate from the time that that broke,
Yeah.
because we never cut?
Okay, that I mean, like this is I'm hearing for the first time, obviously. So
Stick
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
so normally we say that like we consider the time when the cord is cut, and like in most of the time we have people coming with their time of birth, that might be with different level, maybe from the cord is cut or from when the child is
Yeah.
born, so that can be of any. But if there is not a major sort of time difference, then that can be okay. But if this is a case of, say, several hours,
Oh,
then
1 day.
yeah,
A whole 20, maybe 26, about 30 hours difference.
yeah,
That's a
then I
lot.
think that that particular time when the cord really fallen down, I think that would be the nice or the right time.
That's interesting.
Yes, I also have never really experienced that.
Yeah,
Because usually when we're doing the delivery, we're cutting the cord, and that moment really does separate. The child actually is born
and independent. Yeah,
right, and independent, I guess is a better way, rather than being produced. That's interesting. I had never even thought of that before, but everything is starting to make sense now to me.
Yes, yes. Well, the teachings were because when the child has been connected to the placenta, though it's been in the mother's womb, the child's been connected to the placenta. The placenta is what's been feeding the child, so that is the mother. For the 9 months, or however many months, maybe 7, but it is connected. So the placenta is honored as the mother of the child. And when the child is born, it's already the transition of birth is so so I don't want to say difficult on the child, but it's such a very powerful energetic transition that to sever from the mother right after is like one form of independence where you're coming out, being birthed, and then to have the mother severed from you immediately, it's like that detachment. In the teachings that I had learned from some of my elders, which is indigenous culture, is the old, tribal indigenous culture, is that you want to honor the being that has been born, but you want to also honor the mother, the placenta that's formed, that has fed and nourished this child for this long. So it is the child's choice of when the umbilical cord collapses. So it is truly independent then of that child's readiness to step forward into this world.
This is really very interesting.
Yes, yes. So maybe I should have a reading done for my son and give you both times and see if it makes a difference.
Did you save the placenta? I mean, is it somewhere in your house?
Yeah, the placenta, the cord, actually I kept and I shaped it into a heart.
Oh.
I shaped it into a heart, and I've saved it dried into a heart, the cord itself. The placenta, we call placenta medicine. So we dehydrated the placenta. We sliced it, we dehydrated it, and so now it's thin wafers. And whenever there's a major illness, you crumble or not a major illness, if there's something that, a lot of discomfort, you crumble the placenta, the dry placenta, into the food, and you mix it in, and you feed it back to the child to give that energetic strength of when the child was developing. So it's like you're feeding the cells back to help rebalance and nourish.
Yeah, in terms of cord, when the cord is cut, that that we dry them and we give as an amulet, for the child normally. And then whenever there's some, any kind of trouble, like sometimes mouth problem, we have, they suffer, the child has, trouble with mouth, then we can use this as a
Oh, when the child is teething, like when the teeth are coming out and it's painful, or
Yeah, not really with the teeth. Sometimes, trouble with the mouth, we get some, like mouth sick. Yeah. So you can use that, as a.
really, and so you keep it for
Yeah,
the
we keep it.
lifetime of the
Yeah,
child.
we keep, as an amulet normally.
That's interesting. So when you use it, you rub it.
Yeah, we can just, rub it.
New medicine.
New medicine.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating.
I had another question, but now in medicine, we're always trying to do things scientifically, and we look at things and we have an idea of what's right, and then over time we relook at it and relook at it, and sometimes it stays and sometimes it changes, and we make changes in our beliefs in how we practice medicine. Is there anything like that in astrology? So is a person that studied it many, many, many years ago learning the exact same, or is there anything that's changed in astrology as you learn more about everything?
I don't get you
Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
Is when you look at what you learn,
Yeah, sure.
is there anything that gets questioned over time by newer astrologers that think things differently and might interpret something differently to where you say, okay, now this is the way we need to think of it? Maybe I'm not asking the question correctly, but I'm trying to say or ask,
Does it change?
does astrology change? Will it ever change? Are there things that you can learn tomorrow that might say, whoa, we've been thinking this all along, but it's apparent that we should be thinking this way. Just like in medicine, sometimes we'll say, this is a good drug for this, and then we'll learn later on that it isn't, and we'll stop using it.
I think that kind of thing might not happen, but we can come to learn of other more information and more, like more in a sense that more new planet may come in or stars and so on. But what had been in the past is going to proceed with that. So I don't think there will be any major, such major changes that that has never been that in that sense. Yeah, I don't think that such really,
So
is there.
what you learned 25, 30 years ago is
Yeah.
exactly what your son has learned.
Yeah, same thing he has learned.
And there's no, with him in discussions with you, there's nothing that he might see or see the change, because as the world continues to evolve and people continue to evolve and changes take place on the planet with beings, it does not shift the astrology.
Yeah, traditionally, what he has to learn, he's going to learn from that, and together with that, he can also have information from other, I should say, astronomy and astrology. In addition to what he has learned from, what I have learned.
How do you remain objective in let's say you're trying to do a reading and you see something and you're not sure, maybe it was a bad day for you. Maybe something in your astrology was a day that maybe you shouldn't have done a reading. But you have to do a reading because you're on your tour and somebody has come to see you and you're going to do a reading on them. How do you step out of yourself and do the reading and be completely objective about it?
Yeah, the thing is that whenever I have the feeling that you know sometimes I don't get that feeling. Sometimes I get feeling that today I should be more careful. Yeah. So normally before we do all this reading, we always have some prayers or something that we normally practice, so that really helps to balance everything together with our experience and knowledge.
So if I were to come to you for a reading, and would you also, if you saw what you did see, to circumvent certain situations? You were saying earlier that you would give prayers, you would suggest certain things to do. So these prayers, I'm assuming, are in Tibetan.
Yeah, the prayers, like normally, we have certain remedies. So the remedies which has to relate with prayers are, of course, Tibetan prayers.
Mm-hmm. So how would I, as an English speaker, be able to learn these remedies because they're in Tibetan?
The thing is that, we do not give prayers for each and every person. Prayers has to be like, according to their sort of, interest or taste. If they said that, oh, I'm, believer in Buddhism and I like to do this reading, I mean, like reading of prayers and so on, then, one can just, request that prayer to a monastery really to, have that read. But, not necessarily that that individual has to do it. So it is also a matter of, being belief in that.
Mm-hmm.
But for non-believer, we normally, give other remedies. In case of, life danger, we suggest people to save life of animals or other beings. Or instead of health problem, we say that to help sick people, especially to get rid of your own health problems.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of, like lacking of success and, being failure in their sort of, aims or objective, we suggest them to hang some prayer flags or, help people in trouble so that you can get rid of, your own trouble.
What goes around comes around.
Sometimes when people go to a doctor, they have a preconceived opinion of what they want to happen, and the doctor gives an opinion, and it might not be the opinion that they like, so they look for a second opinion. Does that ever happen in astrology? Or do you ever suggest that someone see someone else for a second opinion?
Yeah, we normally, we also say that, from my calculation, it is going to come up like this, in terms of decision making, especially, that very urgent and important one. From my experience and from my astrology, this thing is going to happen. It shows like this. But just in case if you want to seek other advices, you can go to other astrologers or some higher lamas or whosoever that you really consider as the right person to go for that. So I also used to do, give, but it depends. As some people, they just come and they say that whatever you say, I really believe in that. So for such, we don't give any second option. They might don't feel it, very comfortable when we say of, really not being confident. But those who are interested, some people they said that, oh, I did divination, or I just went to somebody else for such thing, but I want to make sure that what it's going to say. Yeah, for such we are going to just let him or her know that, oh, from my calculation it shows this and that, so you just compare with what you had from other place, and then you just try to figure out which you should be going. So in this way we can help them.
Well, we're coming to the top of our hour now. Glenn, do you have any other questions that you'd like to ask?
No, I do.
Yeah, I know.
So we'll just have to have you back, or I'll have to come back on TOL again.
No, we're just going over there.
Yeah, you're welcome to come there, and you will enjoy really the place where we I should say that our institute is really Dharamsala, a nice place, and and top of all, we have the His Holiness there, blessing all the time. Us. Yeah.
So Is there any advice that you would give people who do or don't come to you? Because you've done so many readings in your time. Is there any advice that you can share with us that people should be aware of or conscious of in their life?
Yeah, I should say that I have seen many people up to now in my experience of 25 years, and like in most of the time, you know, especially talking about people in terms of family, I see that in terms of relationship, most of the trouble they have is because of not having enough time to be together. So I think this is what I said, like to suggest them to have enough time spent together so that you have a better relationship life, so that they can have each and every decision in life really goes well.
Thank you so
Do we have
much.
time for another
Yes.
question?
Oh, sure.
Oh, good.
We'll make it for you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm curious, could you do an astrological reading, for example, on a country? Like, let's talk about the United States of America. We know when it was born. We know where it was born, right?
Yeah, this is important. Yeah.
Could you do a chart on the United States and give an astrological reading to give us information that might be beneficial to our health?
Yeah, in general, like we need a state, time, and place of birth. So that can be an individual, that can be a nation, and sometimes I obviously said that India was born
Mhm.
in 1957, and like 1947, their Independence Day, and it was on the 2nd October. No, not 2nd October. So based on I'm sorry for not being able to, yeah, but based on date, time, and place. I mean, here I might not say about the place, but date, time, and year. We can calculate that for any, for a nation or for individual.
So, do you have any advice for our country?
I have not done the chart yet.
Tomorrow. Tonight, later.
That's great. Good answer.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Sitting. It's
You're very
wonderful
welcome.
to have you on our show and have you honor our communities and the global community of being here and sharing your expertise with us. And hopefully, when you go back, that we can also do some more with you through Skype. That would be wonderful to keep up, and maybe even your family.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I enjoyed very much here, and it has been really great.
Wonderful. And thank you, Dr. Glenn Woolman, for joining Trinity of Life today. I knew you couldn't resist, could you?
Really, I may do this always now.
Oh, there you go.
I'm
okay.
addicted.
Okay, that's it. I'm taking some time off then. And of course, thank you to Segovia Smith and the YogaHub team for making this all possible. This was quite an event. And as well as all of you for joining us in this new platform of information and education. We are always grateful for your support, and we love to receive your feedback and suggestions. So please don't be shy and continue to contact us. Now, at the bottom of the site, you will see that we have a link to Sering Chosam's site of the mensihkang.org, that institute. And we really encourage you to learn more about this institute. They're doing such magnificent work for the communities there in India and Nepal. And we encourage your support, of course. And on their site, you can learn about the organization. And you can also be able to view their many products. They have a large line of books, as well as some herbs and products as well that they have. And we really encourage that. And they do have a book on Tibetan astrology. So anyone who is interested in this, and how could you not be after this show, please do check that out on their website. So until next time, again, we look forward to your comments, suggestions, and questions. You can do that by scrolling down on the site and typing it into the comment box, or giving us a call at 818-LETS-TALK. 818-LETS-TALk. Please don't be shy. Give us a call. Until next time, thank you for joining us. Namaste.
And how Tibetan medicine talk about the origin or the cause or the source of human body is, human mind is. Because in school medicine, you say where your body comes from, the zygote, the sperm, the ovum, and all this thing. But when we trace and when we try to look into where your mind comes from, then you're lost. So we tell them clearly. We tell them clearly how Tibetan medicine tells where you are born, how your physical body comes from the previous continent.